You know, we spend so much time talking about finding aliens by looking out into space, right? Like giant telescopes, missions to Mars, all that.
Right.
But what if the most important clues about contact with extraterrestrials are already here? Here, yeah, here on Earth, like buried in all the stories we tell about UFOs, alien encounters, that sort of thing.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's like we're looking for physical proof, spaceships and whatnot, but maybe the real gold mine is something we haven't really tapped into.
Yes, like a gold mine of stories. And that's what's so cool about this blog post, this idea of text mining.
Text mining.
Yeah, it's by Garlick over at ET&I. He suggests, well, actually, he argues that we should use text mining to analyze a ton of these ET contact stories.
Fascinating. I mean, I get it, sort of. But how do you actually use, like, algorithms and stuff to understand what people are saying about aliens?
Right, so instead of launching rockets, we're talking about unleashing algorithms on all these narratives.
It's like using a microscope to study, well, not a microscope, more like a, I don't know, like one of those huge scanners they use to map the ocean floor. Only instead of the ocean floor, we're mapping all the stories, all the details people have shared.
Exactly. Like, are there patterns in how people describe their experiences? Things we wouldn't notice just reading a few stories, but when you analyze thousands?
Right, right, yeah. So you're not just looking for keywords, but like how are people actually using language when they talk about these things?
Okay, so it's like using data to crack the code of alien encounters. But what kind of code are we talking about? What are we actually looking for?
Well, think about it. An algorithm can analyze tons of stories. It wouldn't just look for spaceship, but like how is spaceship described? What other words are used alongside it? What's the context? Does the language change depending on whether the story is about a close encounter or just seeing lights in the sky?
Ooh, that's really interesting. It reminds me of how they can analyze someone's writing style, like those forensic linguistics people. So we could use this to figure out if a story is more likely to be, a genuine ET encounter or maybe just someone making stuff up.
That's the big hope, right? And what really surprised me is that no one seems to be doing this. I mean, Garlic makes a big deal about that, how we're basically sitting on this mountain of data.
That's wild. It seems like such a perfect use for this technology. I mean, we use algorithms to track social media, right?
Right.
Even predict what we're going to buy on Amazon. Why not use those same tools to understand, well, contact with aliens?
Exactly. And the stuff we could learn. Imagine if we found out that, I don't know, certain types of encounters always use certain words or phrases, or if people from different backgrounds, like different cultures, if they describe these experiences differently.
Oh. Or maybe like historical connections, right? Like, could there be similarities between modern UFO sightings and, I don't know, stories about strange phenomena from hundreds of years ago? Different cultures, different times, but maybe they're all talking about the same kind of thing.
Yes. And that's what I love about this whole approach. It's like Garlic compares it to how anthropologists study ancient cultures. Like they use bits of pottery, old texts to piece together what life was like. We can do the same thing with these stories.
So instead of digging up ruins, we're digging into language.
Exactly. It's like we're looking for the fingerprints of alien contact. But those fingerprints are hidden in the way we use words, the stories we tell.
It's like those cave paintings, right? You know, the ones with those weird figures, strange symbols?
Oh, you mean like ancient alien stuff?
Maybe. What if text mining could help us understand those too? See if there are any connections to what people are reporting now.
Wow. That'd be incredible. Though, even just sticking to more recent stories, there's a ton we could learn. Think about the emotional side of things. Like, what are people feeling during these encounters? Is it mostly fear
Hmm.
or something else?
Right. Or what about comparing, like, if you see something in a city versus out in the middle of nowhere? Do those stories sound different?
Exactly. And Garlic, he actually lists out a bunch of questions we could start investigating.
Yeah.
For example, how do you tell the difference between someone just seeing something weird in the sky versus, an actual close encounter?
Yeah.
Can you even do that just by analyzing language?
Wait, so you're saying, like, the way someone talks about their experience could tell us what kind of experience they had?
Yeah. Or, like, are there linguistic differences between encounters where people just see something
Mhm.
versus ones where there's, like, actual communication or even, interaction with these beings?
Whoa!
Well,
We'll be like creating this whole system for classifying encounters based on like their linguistic fingerprints. That's amazing.
right. It's about bringing some real science to this.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, there's been a lot of guessing, a lot of opinions, but not a lot of hard analysis.
He also talks about using this to spot fake stories like disinformation. How would that even work?
Well, think about it. Let's say suddenly you see all these stories popping up using the exact same phrases. describing things in a way that's just too similar.
That's suspicious, right?
Oh, I see. Like, it's too coordinated, too similar to be a coincidence.
Right. And that's where text mining could be really helpful. It could flag that kind of stuff for us, help us separate what might be real from someone just messing with us.
It's kind of scary, though, when you think about it. It's not just about figuring out if aliens are real, but also about all the ways people try to manipulate information, even about something like this.
Yeah, for sure. And this is something Garlick talks about, the ethical side of all this. Even though we're talking about analyzing words on a page, we can't forget that these words represent real experiences, real people. Right, we have to be careful about that. It's not just data. These are people's stories, their truths.
Absolutely. Text mining can be a super powerful tool,
Yeah.
but we got to use it responsibly. Always remembering that there are real people behind these stories.
It's like we're looking for a needle in a haystack, right? But instead of a needle, it's the truth about aliens. And the haystack is all this information, all these stories.
And text mining is like, I don't know, a giant magnet or
Right.
something. You can pull that needle out.
Exactly. And you know what I really appreciate about Garlick's approach? He seems really into getting other people involved, like making this research something anyone can do. He actually links to a bunch of text mining tools in his posts.
Seriously, that's awesome.
Yeah. And he mentions this thing called the Global ET Contact Research Network. So maybe there are already people out there doing this kind of research, like a whole community of citizen scientists, but instead of studying birds, they're studying aliens.
I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Imagine what we could learn if everyone shared their data, their findings. We could have this massive database of encounter stories, all analyzed and categorized. It'd be like the Human Genome Project, but for UFOs.
Right. It's like we're entering this whole new phase of exploration, but instead of spaceships, we're using algorithms. And the discoveries, who knows what we'll find.
Maybe we'll finally get some real answers, not just more questions. It's exciting.
It really is. Well, on that note, I think we've done our digging for today, at least on this deep dive.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
For sure. But hey, maybe this is just the beginning, right? Maybe someday we'll look back and say, this whole text mining thing, this is how we finally figured it all out.
Here's hoping.
Until next time, then keep looking up and keep those algorithms running. Thanks for listening, everyone.